Hi, time to plan, people. Gotta plan your garden so you can not do what I did last year and cram everything in to one little space. Okay? Gotta plan things. Hi everyone! It is a beautiful day today, and today I want to talk about where I'm going to be planting things in my garden this year. If you're new to my channel, my name is Jenny, and I talk about all things gardening, what I like to do in my own garden. You know, these things I talk about are just things that I like to do. Doesn't mean I'm an expert or that, you know, if you try these things that they're gonna work. This is just what I've been doing, and hopefully you enjoy learning about what I've been doing. So today, we're going to be talking about the layout of the garden and what I should put where. You know, like if for example, tomatoes, they need full sun, so I need to put those in a place that needs full sun, or that has full sun. Lettuce and cabbage and things like that need less sun, and they like cooler temperatures, so I'll need to plan for that accordingly. Since it is so hard to wait for the seedlings to grow, I gotta do something in the meantime. So that's what I'm gonna do, is plan out this garden. So today I drew out a little map, I guess, if you will, and it shows where the things are in my personal garden in my backyard. When we moved in here, it was just a big square, and so the year after we moved in, I'm like, I just want one little bitty square of room to plant things. But as time went on, it just ended up taking more and more of the garden, and now I have half the garden and the dogs have half the garden. So I guess I'll leave them some space because I guess they have to pee somewhere. So anyway, I am going to show you my design here. This is what my garden looks like. I have two large beds here in the middle. To get in, there's a little gate right here. You walk right in, and you turn, and there are two raised beds here and one on this side. Then as you go along, I have the rest of the length of the fence on this side, and all the way along the back there is another long bed. This side is where I usually plant all my tomatoes, and last year I planted some on this side too, and over here because I went overboard with tomatoes last year. But the tomatoes always really do really well on this side. But I know you're not from what I've heard, you're not supposed to keep planting the same thing in the same spot year after year. So I'm going to switch it up this year and plant my tomatoes in these two big ones here. Now, I don't know if I'm going to plant, you know, if I'm going to use all of the space for tomatoes, but I'll probably, you know, one side here, or, you know, this way or this way. I don't know yet. But I definitely, since this gets full sun, this is going to be where the tomatoes are, and some peppers and beets for sure. I'll probably do beets on this side because I did beets 2 years in a row on this side, so I'm going to switch it up. Also, last year I planted tomatoes here and here, and they did really well, but like I said, it just was too many tomatoes, and they just took over everything. And basically I had flowers and, you know, green beans, and like last year I had flowers here in this section, and I also had green beans over here, and they just got this whole corner just took up all of the area, and so just grows so much. So what I'm planning is not to do as many tomatoes, even though I did plant quite a few seedlings. You know, you never know if they're gonna start or if they're gonna germinate or whatnot, so you have to plant a lot at the beginning to make sure that you have successful germination. If you don't, then what are you going to do? You have to start your tomatoes later on in the months, and then they don't produce as fast. And I'm very impatient, so, I always start early. Last year was only my second year of gardening. This is my third, and last year I started my tomatoes in January just because I was just way too excited. I didn't know any better, really. I'm just like, I'm just going to start these, and they grew so big that I had to make my shelves taller so that they could grow because I started too soon. So tomatoes for sure need full sun. Now, I just want to say, even if you do plant a bunch of tomatoes, the tomatoes have there are different types, obviously. One type is called determinate, which means that the tomatoes will grow a certain size and they will produce a certain amount of tomatoes, and then they are done. The indeterminate tomatoes, they grow and grow and grow and take over everything. And I planted both last year, and I will say the determinate tomatoes still grew pretty big, but they didn't take over everything. So make sure to accommodate for that, for your space. You gotta really plan your space because your tomatoes can grow all into each other, and then last year what happened was they just grew all together and half my plants were out. It's just don't do that, if you want to, go ahead, but I just got overexcited, which happens a lot. So yeah, definitely those big 2 beds are going to be tomatoes. And the back wall there, I believe I'm going to try and put cucumbers again. I did cucumbers there last time. But maybe because of where they are, they don't get as much sun as I would like, so I'm going to just scoot them down a little further. I'm going to put some cabbages and lettuce on that side, which I have done in the past. I do really well back there in that very back wall because the sun comes over that wall and it's not full sun all day, so don't want to dry up your lettuce. Another thing you can plant in half shade is peas. Peas really like the shade and cool temperatures, so you want to plant those in early spring. But make sure when you're planting these things, you take into consideration your last frost date. Hello. Because your last frost date is going to determine when you can plant. You don't want to plant everything and then the next week have a frost and you have to start all over. You've killed your seedlings and it's a big bummer. This is Fitz. And anyway, so try to make sure to find out. You can just Google when your last frost date is and it'll tell you for where you live. Go away. So type in where you live and last frost date and it should give you an estimate of when that is. I like to at least go another week or 2 out from that because we are in a colder zone, and last year what happened, I thought it was gonna stay warm and it didn't, and it got really windy and it blew all my tomato plants. I had so many. It's probably good that it did kill some of them, only because it blew everything around and killed a bunch of stuff. So I was too eager. Like I said, I started my stuff in January, which was dumb, and I put my stuff out before the last frost date, which was dumb. So don't do that. I still ended up with a lot of plants and things that I brought inside every night so that they wouldn't die. And I had a pretty successful garden last year. So I am hoping this year is going to also be successful because I'm starting to learn a lot of things. I mean, this year is only my 3rd year, But I have learned a lot, let me tell you, in the last 3 years. Just from trial and error, you know. It's just fun to try different things and learn things, and I've watched a lot of people doing different things. I've tried different kinds of trellises. Last year I went to Menards and I got some bamboo sticks, and I used those for trellises. I kind of made like a square, and I tied some string up to the tops of those, and I made a really nice trellis, and I grew the cucumbers on those. Unfortunately, the bugs kind of got to my cucumbers and killed them off. But I did get a bunch of cucumbers. I had pickles. I made pickles and stuff last year. But the trellis was pretty fun to make. And I made a few trellises in the same way for my tomatoes, for the ones that went crazy. But by the end, like August, the trellises had fallen over because they were just overwhelmed with tomato vines. So, another thing that I like to plant in my raised beds is herbs. And herbs do really well in raised beds, as far as I know of my experience. But I will say one of the herbs, dill, that really likes to be planted in the ground. And also chamomile really likes to be planted in the ground. So give that a try. Those two are really, really easy to grow, but they do like to be planted in the ground. This time, downstairs right now, on my shelves, I do have some things that are growing already. And two of those things, of course, my favorite tomatoes, the honeycomb hybrid, the orange ones. They're little tiny, but they're so flavorful. Those have started. And also the chamomile. Chamomile has been proven to be really easy to grow. I never thought that would happen. But I really like it. Everything else has not started showing up yet, but the chamomile and one of my varieties of tomatoes have started. So we are getting somewhere. 7 days later, we got little seedling babies. So it's very exciting. So you can get these books anywhere that you know, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, anywhere. And this book has these dotted pages, you can see, so that you can draw straight lines, even though mine didn't really turn out exactly straight for some reason. But they really help to make straight lines in your plans. It's really nice to be able to see where you're going to put things, because it just gets you more excited for, you know, what's going to look like. So I really recommend getting one of these little journals. It's also nice to write down things like from last year. Oh, by the way, that didn't grow well in this spot, or this grew really well in this spot, or you know, it's nice to have these things to look back on year after year, so you can learn. Gardening is learning all the time what is new and what is not working or what is working. It's just really nice to write these things down so you can remember. I'm loving sitting in the sun right now. It's so nice out. But it's still too cold to plant anything, which is frustrating. But it's okay, because nothing's ready to plant yet anyways. But there are things that you can direct sow into the ground, which could start coming up. But the ground is still too hard right now. So that is also frustrating. There's snow out there too still, so forget it. It's also nice to have a potting bench. I got a potting bench for my birthday a couple years ago, and it has proven to be very helpful while in the garden, because I use mine mostly to put my seedlings on it when, you know, you finally transfer them outside. And I put a bunch of them on there. I also use it to lay out flowers, like if I have just cut some flowers and I want to strip the leaves, I can put a pile on my little potting bench and just kind of pick them up, strip them, and then put them down and have 2 piles going. I also like to use it, it has a little drawer, I keep some of my tools in there. So it's a very handy thing to have, is a potting bench. I love talking about gardening, by the way. I can't stop. It's a problem. It is. It's a good problem. Well, that is it for today's video, guys. If you would subscribe, like, and hit that bell for any notifications of when I post new videos, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching today, and see you in the next video.